All right, I think we are live. It's the Down Beach Buzz podcast for March 6, 2025, covering the news, the information, real estate, where to eat, what to do, how to have a good time in Ventnor, Margate, Longport, Atlantic City, Brigantine. Yeah, the Down Beach Buzz podcast with Sherry Lilienfeld. That's her right up there from eXp Realty. Go to realtysherry.com. Paul Scollage, he's on a special assignment. He's from rate.com, Senior VP of Lending at rate.com. Visit Paul Scollage at rate.com. Are you doing those slides? That's very nice. You're running my slideshow. Well, thank you. We're introducing some new technology here with Sherry and I. So what's our next slide? But we did our advertising, right? We did our thanks for supporting the Down Beach Buzz podcast. So, but I think we're going to hand everything over to you. We're trying a new system where we uploaded stuff with the tools we have with streaming. And don't forget, make sure that you subscribe to the Down Beach Buzz newsletter. Just go to downbeachbuzz.com and make sure you visit realtysherry.com for what's happening in the real estate market in Margate, Ventnor, Longport, the Down Beach area. That about it, Sherry?
Yeah, so we miss Paul today because Paul is away in Miami for a business meeting. Lucky Paul. Hopefully he has good weather down there. Florida, the people in Florida have been complaining that their weather hasn't been that good. Well, let them come here for a little while. So so today what I really wanted to discuss, in addition to talking about the inventory, is property fraud. Property fraud is really a big problem, and it hits a lot of areas of real estate. It hits the sales part of real estate, and it hits the rental part of real estate. It's a very big subject. And I'm gonna give a little overview on inventory. And because Paul's not here, we're not going to talk about condos today, but we will the next time he joins us. So basically, the reason I'm going through this is because you really need to understand what property fraud is so you can protect yourself. And there are systems, there's things in place for, what are you playing around with with the
I'm trying to set it up. I'm trying to get it going, but you look great. That new slideshow behind you and your hair is very lustrous. What shampoo are you using? Is it G? Your hair smells terrific because it looks very nice today. I don't know.
I actually use a shampoo from my hairdresser. I buy it from my hairdresser. Another thing, you should always buy your shampoos and stuff from your hairdresser because they have the best stuff. But anyway, talking about property fraud and protecting yourself, there are tools in place to help you protect yourself, and we will get into that. I put together a video that you're going to play a little bit of to explain that. But let's just talk about in general what property fraud is. So believe it or not, someone can literally steal your home from you without you knowing it. Well, how do they do that? They can come up with false mortgages, false deeds, and record them against your property. And you would never, ever know it. Some people have their property stolen for years and they don't find out until they go to sell it and they realize they can't even sell the property. It's really, really scary that you could live in your home and someone could steal it from you. Scammers are very sophisticated now. They come up with very official looking documents and deeds, and they just send it to the county clerk and it gets recorded. So I want to talk about Atlantic County. They have a notification service, and I have a little video I'm going to show you about how you can register with this notification service in case there's any change in your mortgage. Contact your local municipality and see what they have. I'm going to talk about Atlantic County because that's the municipality where my property is located. So this service in Atlantic County is a free service, and I'm going to show you just how you can register yourself. The first thing you do is you go to atlanticcountyclerk.org. So let's go there and see how this looks. I typed in atlanticcountyclerk.org, and this is the landing page. Now you'll notice on the bottom there's 4 red buttons. I'd like you to click on the one that says Property Alert. Once you click on this button, you're in a page where you can then register yourself. So it's really pretty easy. Once you click on register, you have to type in some basic information, create an account. Please use an email that you check often because this is how you're going to get your alerts. They're going to send you an email if someone tries to record something like a deed or a mortgage or a lien against your property. So please pay attention to these emails that come because this is the only way the alert system in Atlantic County works. Once you register, you'll have a better sense of protection, but it's still not 100% guaranteed. I hope this video helped you understand what property fraud is, and please be aware. Thank you.
Very nice. All right. That was really great.
I love that music. It's called Stomp and Clap, that music, and it's available through Camtasia. But anyway, let's get back to property fraud. So that was Atlantic County, but most counties will have a similar service to alert you. So wherever you live, if you have a home at the shore and you have one in Pennsylvania, go to your county website and see what kind of alert system they have, because a lot of them do have a service. So anyway, I wanted to talk about, so that's when you own a house. So this doesn't happen in Margate. This really doesn't happen. Well, let me tell you a little story. There was a property, and it happens mostly though with land sales. There was a piece of land in Margate. A very experienced, reputable realtor listed the property. Property was on the deed, it said an LLC. He listed the property. A buyer came along, went under contract, paid for environmental testing, paid for architectural services, had about $4,000 invested in it. And then they realized the person selling the property wasn't actually the owner. Some person, and that happens a lot here because we don't physically meet our sellers a lot of times. They might call you and say, I have this property and send me paperwork. So invested $4,000, realized that the seller didn't really own the property. It was a whole big deal. Of course, the buyer wanted their money back, went to the real estate office and asked for their money. But yeah, it actually happened in Margate. Okay, so it can happen anywhere. So that's just an example. So you could be a buyer and be taken by fraud, or you could be a seller and taken by fraud. In this case, you want to be sure you're buying a property from an actual owner. So also, like down here, down at the shore, we have properties owned under LLCs. So you want to always ask to see the paperwork for that LLC to really see who the actual sellers are listed under that LLC. It's very hard to search for that. You have to actually see the documentation. And as a listing agent, we're required to ask for that paperwork so we know the person who's signing on behalf of the LLC actually has the authority to sell it. Yeah, so again, be sure. Okay, so now let's talk about renting. Okay, renting. Now it used to be with Craigslist that there were all these scams going on. People would steal, realtors used to list their properties a lot through Craigslist. And then there were these scammers that would steal the pictures and pretend to be the owners or sellers of a property. So a lot of us we just don't use Craigslist anymore. But for rentals, some people go to Craigslist. I have a story that happened with Airbnb. And it was someone that I'm very close with who this happened to. They were renting a property. They went on Airbnb and they saw who the seller was, who the host was. And then they researched that host and then they reached out to the host directly. And I get it. Airbnb charges a lot of fees and they're trying to circumvent the system, right? So they reached out to that seller and host, and that host had a company that said something like, they did a lot of rentals. They had a lease. They put $1,000 deposit down. And then when it gets closer to the time and saying what's going on with our rental, like they didn't know what was happening. So they called, it was in a condo building. They called the condo building and they asked about this owner and this unit. And the condo building's like, they don't own that unit. Like I don't know who you're renting from, but it's not the owner. So needless to say, they lost the deposit. It could have been a lot more. How they were on Airbnb as a host, I have no idea. But yeah, so it can happen with renting too. So I just really want people to be aware. It's another, reason why you really need to do your due diligence. Scammers are so sophisticated. There's AI, there's all these false documents that are created. So yeah, you just definitely need to be aware. All right. John, Mel, do you want to talk about market stats now, or do you have anything to comment on?
This is my favorite part of the podcast on March 6, 2025, the Down Beach Buzz podcast with Sherry Lilienfeld of eXp Realty. Hit her up at realtysherry.com. And Paul Skolage, he's the man. He's the Senior VP of Lending at rate.com. Also an amazing soccer player at one time. Ask him about that. That's Paul Skolage. He's Paul Skolage of rate.com. And market stats. What's up with that, Sherry Lilienfeld, aka Sustainable Sherry?
You forgot to mention Tilly's joining us today. See, we have
Tilly is the bird that's always Tilly is the brains behind this operation, I think. No, it's a guy. I got the gender mixed up. Tilly is a male guy, right? Yeah.
Yes, because we named Tilly. You can't tell a bird's sex really easily. It's not very obvious. So the only time you know if it's a female is if it starts to lay eggs. But I wanted to really know what Tilly's sex was. So I had a DNA test on Tilly, and it turned out Tilly was male, genetically a male.
Once again, this bird is a cockatiel. A cockatiel.
But anyway, so Tilly is short for Tilly, to be clear. Okay. All right. Market stats. So what's happening? We're going to start with Ventnor. There's only 40 properties listed in Ventnor. It's really low. 40 properties that are active. 8 of those, or 20% of those, had a price reduction. And the average price in Ventnor for what's listed of the 40 properties is $2.2 million. So let's see what's under contract. This is what's under contract in Ventnor. There's actually 7 properties went under contract. Of those 7 that went under contract, 4 of them had price reductions. It's 57%. So what is that telling you? That the things that are going under contract are only going under contract after the prices are coming down. And the average price of those that went under contract is $1.264 million. So if you remember, average asking price of what's active is 2.2, but what's really selling is 1.2. So again, people are looking for the lower price point homes. Margate, active properties, 54. And we're going to get into this a little more, but that's getting back to a healthier number for Margate. Average sale price is $2.3 million. And of those 54, 9 of them had price reductions. So 17%. Oh, that's so sweet. Down Beach Buzz. Okay. What went under contract? 8 properties in Margate went under contract. And wow, look at this. Of those 8, the average sale price is $2.7 million. And only 13% had price reductions. And I do want to say one reason this average sale price is so high is because one of those properties that went under contract was asking price $7.75 million. It was 2 Dolphin Drive. So really, really high price point on one of the ones under contract. So Longport has 13 properties up for sale, which is last month when I checked, there are only like 7. And, as we expect, Longport average sale price is pretty high. It's $5.7 million. Okay, won't forget absorption rate. Will do. One property went under contract, $1.6 million. So look, you have all these properties in Longport, 5, 6, 7, 8 million, but the one that went on sale is less than 2 million. Again, what's that telling you? The buyers out there are in 2 million or less price point. This is what I really wanted to look at, because this tells a lot. This is active listings versus UTC. UTC is under contract listings. So for Margate, the average sale price is 2.3. The under contract is 2.6. Pretty close. So Margate is doing well in terms of their pricing and what's going under contract. Ventnor, again, I said this before, average sale price is UTC means under contract. Ventnor, the average sale price is 2.2, but what went under contract is significantly less at 1.26 million. And Longport, again, what's going under contract is a lot less. This is the number of properties listed for sale. But this slide, forget this title. This is what was the inventory in March 5th, yesterday when I did this, versus January 23rd. Big difference. Margate is now up at 54, where a little over a month ago was 42. So since January 23rd, the increase has been 28, close to 29% increase in inventory. That's good. We're starting to see more houses hit the market, which is great. Ventnor is actually a little bit higher, not much, 11%. So anyway, we're starting to see is Margate is really picking up, and Ventnor always seems to follow Margate. So we're going to see the Ventnor market pick up, I believe, with inventory as well. So that's it for my slides. John?
Yeah, well, you were doing such a good job.
Can't hear you.
All right, let me bring that on. Hold on one second. Hold on. You can't hear that?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, very good job.
Now we can get rid of it.
Slide. Let me hear. Hold on a second. Yeah, we're basically updating our system of how to do this podcast. So far so good. We haven't made any kind of major snafus, but that worked out pretty good. Even though we're having some connection difficulty, if you see some of our screens getting kind of jerky, we're working on that because we're adding new technology to the DownbeachBUZZ podcast. How's that sound? Okay, so that's the deal.
Did we want to talk about what was happening in Brigantine at all?
Let me give you a little bit. So I'm going to bring up the what we have here is the front page of DownbeachBUZZ right now as of March 6, 2025. And we'll bring it to a large screen here. And you can see that it's sponsored by Sherry and Paul Scolage from Rate.com. Here are some of the stories that we've been covering over the past week on DownbeachBUZZ.com. Let me bring that up a little bit more. One moment, please. Yes, Margate, Ventnor, Brigantine. Did you know that Longport has a new mayor? His name is Patrick Armstrong. You were aware of that, right there?
Yes. And I get your newsletter, your emails all the time updating me, which is fantastic.
And a good guy. I work with him all the time. Phil Neary down in Longport. He did a great story here. He interviewed Patrick Armstrong, like 9 or 10 questions with the new Longport mayor. And there's some pictures of him being sworn in. The smiling face, the smiling water tower in Longport. The new commissioners, Mr. Armstrong, Mr. Ulmer, and Dan Lawler. The new commission and mayor of Longport Borough. All the great stories here from Phil Neary. He's a part-time resident of Longport, also lives in South Philly. He's a big fan of sustainable sherry. He actually told me that I'm always following sherry. Make sure I know when sherry's being podcasted. I'm not kidding. So you got a big fan there in Phil. Okay?
That's very nice. Hopefully he maintains a sustainable lifestyle, which is why he likes to follow sustainable sherry.
Yeah, what we're going to do is we are going to eventually, I think we'll talk to Phil on the DownbeachBUZZ podcast because he's the guy behind the Beach Terrace Park thing. He's a secretary there. He's keeping things in order. I've been working with him, helping the people of Longport keep some open space, something called Beach Terrace Park. Go to beachterracepark.com, and I think you'll find out. And we should go through there one day. Maybe we'll have some time later on. Let me go back to the front page of DownbeachBUZZ. Did you know that for the past 4 or 5 weeks, the press of Atlantic City has been dealing with a cyber attack, ransomware? It's nasty because I'm a subscriber to the press of Atlantic City, and some of the stuff I always use has not been available. So let's hope that they can work this out. But this is crazy. I remember last year, Borgata was stuck in some type of ransomware thing. But yeah, the Press of Atlantic City has been struggling to get out of this cyber attack, this ransomware thing. And the Press of Atlantic City is a part of a company that has like 77 other daily newspapers. Also on the Down Beach Buzz website, yes, we dig into Brigantine because they are openly talking about, this is Mayor Sarah of Brigantine, the mayor of that fine town on the other side of Atlantic City. And he admitted real estate revals are coming to Brigantine, and Atlantic County wants all the municipalities, all the towns in Atlantic County to get ready for a reval. Either do it locally. Denny Levinson, the county exec, he wants a countywide. He wants to control the assessment or the reval. I'm kind of leaning on that. I think that's better. You shouldn't have everybody do their own because it could be all over the place. Vince Sarah, Sherry, he wants to have his own Brigantine-focused reval, which I don't think is. I'm not a big fan of that because there's too many inaccuracies that could screw through there. And that's our good friend, Margate Mayor Michael Collins. He's a big fan of the Down Beach DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, local versions popping up in the New Jersey area. I'm telling you, I guess depends on how you feel about DOGE at the national level. But yeah, it is happening locally along the Jersey Shore. So get ready for that one. That's a lot of fun. The Brigantine Now podcast. So check that out. Let's go back here to the front page. Some other stuff that's pretty interesting. The podcast with Margate, they're dealing with water bills. People are freaked about their water bills, and maybe they weren't made aware that the water bills are going to go way up. Legal notices. There's some issues with some of these small towns. They can't get that thing working properly. Website stuff. Cannabis taxes going up. The South Jersey Players, they're going to be at Aroma. The great theater group, South Jersey Players, at Aroma Restaurant in Ventnor coming up. So click on that to find out more. IMAX Theater, Longport. And yeah, there was some other stuff. Let me go to Brigantine real fast.
Well, tonight is the Margate. Tonight is the Margate Commissioners meeting.
Okay.
You know, I'm always a big fan of people showing up and going to the meetings. I will be there. Apparently,
Can you do me a favor? Can you do me a favor?
Oh no, here it goes. What do you want me to ask?
send my kind, warm regards to John Scott Abbott, the solicitor, and Mayor Mike Collins, if you would, please. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Apparently, they did put something in the budget for the Zoom technology. We'll see where we go with that. Just letting you know.
Yeah, Mayor Collins suffers from the same ailment as Mayor Sarah of Brigantine. They just can't get it going. They can't figure out this internet thing. It's been going on for years, and they're working on it, or they don't have enough money. But going back to Brigantine again, Cher, this is a pretty big story because this is right up your alley. This has to do with issues of non-compliant permitting with construction, contaminated land. In this story, the Brigantine rod and reel dirty development details. I mean, we all think that Margate has issues with permits, and is that 12 units or is it 6? All that nonsense. But it happens in a lot of these Jersey Shore towns. But Margate and Brigantine take it to another level, which is why it's so exciting. Quite frankly, I think Brigantine is the best of the best when it comes to questionable planning and zoning and permits. Well, permits, schmermits. But read this one, the dirty, they call it the dirty dirt development details. The Rod and Reel used to be an awesome, dive bar at the far end of Brigantine, and somebody took it over, raised everything, and they want to put a whole bunch of townhouses or side-by-sides or individual, whatever they want to do, they want to change the rules. And they kind of filled it. They filled the development lot. They filled the big giant lot across from the Steelman's Bay, I think it's called. And they wanted to raise the elevation, and they got a lot of fill, a lot of unknown fill, dump trucks full of it. They dumped it to try to raise the elevation, filled with all kinds of what they call dirty dirt. It's a great story. They've been working on this. But go and see, because this kind of stuff, and sure, you know what it's like, contamination getting into the groundwater, into the soil. Would you want your kids in the backyard to be playing on top of contamination? What are your thoughts as a realtor when you are following this? And Brooks, you work with Brooks with the Save the Beach and the whales and the wind turbine thing, but he's now focused, and he gets up there in front of council often, and he asks them questions about this whole thing with the with that parcel of land. And is it dirty? Is it going to be cleaned up and remediated, right? So,
Well, this is a typical situation of like spot zoning. You know, when you have a township and you have rules and you're turning the eye to one person, it sets a precedent for everybody else. So why do you have your rules if you're not going to enforce your rules? And obviously the developers put in all this dirty dirt because it's a whole lot cheaper than buying clean dirt, right? It's just one more way for them to save money. But I never feel right about the spot zoning and the precedent it sets for a town. And it's not just Margate or Brigantine. I saw it down in Sea Isle when I owned down in Sea Isle. It's a lot of towns. So I wouldn't just single out our beautiful Jersey Shore. We lost you again. Where are you?
there we go. There we go. So yeah, it's true.
It's like disappearing on me. What?
I'm sorry about that, but
I
it is
don't have the
true.
magic buttons to bring you back in.
All right, but it is true. It is something that you just revealed that it's everywhere along the Jersey Shore. A lot of this kind of weird development. Oh, I forgot to get that permit. Oh, wait a second, I just changed the rules or I misread them. Or, boy, I hope planning and zoning and construction officials don't notice what I'm doing. But it happens everywhere, but especially along the Jersey Shore because there's so few voters. They don't really have many people to report to, these construction officials, zoning people, and and there's so much. Sure, this is true. There's so much development. There's so much building. How do you keep up with inspections all along the way? It's tough. Even if they want to do their best, it's going to be tough to catch all this. But is that true? Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, they constantly complain about not having enough people. So honestly, if there's all this development, all this construction, they need to be more inspected to their budget and figure it out. And you have to have inspectors. And my construction contamination that goes on. And that's the big question. How are we going to enforce this? Well, have an inspector walk around, a day a week and check it out. So anyway, yeah, we'll see what happens. But now people they're very vocal. The neighbors to that site are very vocal and they're not going to be quiet at all. So they're going to have to do the right thing.
And if you want to read more stuff, I'm sorry. Yeah, whenever you're done, let me know.
I see the parade. So we have the Atlantic City St. Patty's Parade on the 8th, which is this Saturday. It's supposed to be a lot of fun. And the Brigantine one, which is the 15th. It's a fun time. I just would encourage people to come out. The offshore wind warrior, anti-offshore wind warriors are going to be out. We're all going to be dressed as sea creatures, protecting our ocean. So we will be out there in full force. But apparently Atlantic City has 79 participants. So that's a lot. I don't mean 79 people. I mean 79 groups. That's a lot. So it should be pretty fun time in Atlantic City.
Okay. So that's, if you're interested to see what's happening over in Brigantine, a great town. I lived there for quite some time. Check it out, but keep an eye on your leaders and make sure that you demand that they turn on the Zoom video cameras because they're making big decisions, especially in planning and zoning meetings. They're making big decisions, but most people don't pay attention to planning and zoning because they're focused on council and commissions. But I think we talked about it, Sher, that planning and zoning has some incredible impact on the quality of life and the value of your property. Would you agree, Sherry?
Oh my gosh, 100%. It's so important, but you're right. People don't come. They find it. The only time they might come is if they get a letter if something is within 200 feet of their home and they got a certified letter. Other than that, they don't come to see what's going on in the city in terms of development. It's really important. And yes, those Zoom meetings where people can participate from a distance, very important too. And I am on your bandwagon with that. So we'll stay on it.
All right, very good. And there's lawsuits everywhere. I mean, there's multiple lawsuits, I think, at the very least, there's one good one. It's the Baglivo situation with the Margate Gardens complex. It's the city of Margate versus Mr. Baglivo. That thing's been dragging on. And I just want to remind you, Sherry, we want to appreciate that you've contributed to the, as a taxpayer, to the funding of all these additional attorneys that are dealing with this they're just racking up hours. Think about how crazy that is. That taxpayers are funding the lawsuit. And I think they're going to get in front of a judge again over the next few weeks, but whatever. Also, take a look at my good friends in Brigantine, the Short-Term Rental Association. A short-term rental association, a bunch of Airbnb and STR entrepreneurs in Brigantine got together because they were very angry that Brigantine was trying to enforce rule of law in regards to managing commercial properties in a residential zone. They didn't like that there was mercantile fees and there was restrictions that most other towns adhere to. But think about that. Taxpayers in Brigantine are using their own money to fight a group of second homeowners, of entrepreneurs that deal with Airbnb and commercial motels within a residential zone. They're fighting a group and they're just dragging this out. So go there. It's called the Brigantine Short-Term Rental Court Battle Update. It's kind of jaw-dropping because you hear me, Sherry. We're always talking about, I know you kind of roll your eyes when I say it again, but short-term rentals does affect the amount of transactions, buying and selling of real estate, and the ability for people to have long-term rentals. It does play a role in that regard, does it not?
Yes, you're in a vacation home where you're going to relax. You don't want to be next to a night or a weekend, piling a bunch of people into a house. It's very important. And as a realtor, you're supposed to know where these properties are so you can properly advise your buyers. So, very important.
All right, let's cut this because we're having some technical difficulties. You're dropping out a lot, but we got some good stuff in. So it's Sherry Lilienfeld of EXP. Go check it out. Check her out at realtysherry.com. Is that about it, Sherry, or do you have anything to close here? Because there are some technical glitches going on.
I'm good. I'm all good. Thank you. You keep on switching us around.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Is that about it then?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Say goodbye, everybody. Say goodbye, everybody.